Dame is number one.
Notre Dame with a miracle win as the clock
Going
runs.
in. Notre Dame has scored.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the University of Notre Dame Brian Kelly conference call. At this time, we are going to go straight to questions. If you would like to ask a question, please press star one at this time. Again, that's star one for questions. And our first question comes from Eric Hansen of South Bend Tribune.
Hi, Coach. How are you doing?
Very good, thanks, Eric.
Good. Wondered if you had an update on Ernest Jones' situation.
Yeah, he fell ill on the flight back. Had an adverse reaction to sinus medication. A bit dehydrated, and we were very fortunate. We had Dr. Moriarty and Dr. Balint, Dr. Radican. They were able to give him great care and rested comfortably and did some tests to make sure that there was, other issues. But we look to see, they're talking about releasing him this afternoon. So had a little bit of a scare, but it turned out everything looks to be pretty good.
Sometimes when you play the service academies, the guys setting the edge don't always show up in the stats. Ishak seemed to show up and did a good job with that. Can you talk about his contributions yesterday?
Yeah, he was. It was certainly his best game since he's been here at Notre Dame, and that comes with the maturity and the opportunity, which both are coming his way now. And he's playing the game the right way. He plays with an energy that you need, and he was definitely somebody that we were pleased with after we watched the film.
You have a couple of guys coming off suspensions this week. How do you reintegrate them in terms of reps, especially at the quarterback position?
Yeah, Tommy now will get a chance to take some reps and get some work, and that's going to be a process. You don't just jump in there and pick up where you left off. He's got a lot of work to do, and it'll be nice to have him back in practice where he can go in there and get some meaningful reps.
As far as where he stands on the depth chart, do you start the week with a number in mind, or you just kind of have to wait and see how the week goes?
Well, I think what we want to do is get him some work. Him and Andrew will get some work and kind of play it by ear as we go through the week, because obviously they're going to be competing for that number 2 position going into this week.
And Ronnie Stanley, your decision to play him Saturday, can you talk a little bit about that and how you felt he did?
He's our third tackle, and so I don't think that you can ever go into the season and think that you're not going to put a guy like that out on the field. So that was a decision that we made before we even went to Ireland with him, and that was when we got an opportunity to get him in the game, we were going to take advantage of that opportunity. And I was really pleased with our second unit. That whole unit, other than the first couple of plays were a little shaky. We had a bad snap and a missed assignment. They did a very, very good job. And Stanley and Hanratty and Haggerty, Nick Martin, all did a very, very nice job for us.
Last one from me. Navy showed you a lot of different looks. Just curious what you take away from the Navy game in terms of the back end of your defense.
Well, I thought, assignment-wise, against the option, I was very pleased with our discipline on the back end. Certainly, they completed some balls that, can stress you when you're playing that kind of offense. So, this week, Purdue threw it, 37 for 47. So we'll get a real good look at where we are, and it's like I told our team, this is a process. Every week we're going to get challenged in different areas, and this week's challenge against Navy was obviously the option and obviously the things that go along with that and preparing for it. This week it's going to be more of a balance between the run and pass, and we'll learn a lot more about our football team after week 2.
Thank you.
And again, that's star one if you'd like to ask a question. Our next question comes from Sean Mealy of Irish Sports Daily.
Hey, Coach, a couple questions for you. On the first quarter when
got sacked. Was that a miscommunication with Martin and Watt, or did Martin just not step out?
Yeah, he recognized it as 4 down, and it was a 3 down look, and excuse me, it was the other way around. Martin recognized it as 3 down, and Everett called it 4 down, and so there was a communication error there, and so Everett didn't see it coming.
How would you? That's one for me. How would you grade Troy Nichols' performance, Coach?
I'd say it was a very solid performance. He had, like anything else, first-time starter at that position. I think we had 20 guys that entered the game for their first collegiate experience, and he gives us what we thought. Big, physical at the point of attack. He can catch the football. He's athletic. He's got a bright future.
Great, thank you.
And once again, that's star one if you'd like to ask a question. Our next question comes from Pete Sampson of Irish Illustrated.
Brian, first I was curious if you could talk a little bit about the offensive line play. It sounds Zach Martin had the game ball after yesterday, and just your evaluation of that group after kind of looking through the tape, a little bit more detailed way.
Well, again, I think it's a unit. I don't know that there's one guy, but here's what they've got is that they communicate very well. They work well together. They work as a unit. And I've had offensive lines where we've had singularly great players at certain positions. I think the thing that stands out with this group is that, all 5, including the tight ends as they attach themselves, really work well together. There's not a lot of missed assignments and miscommunication. And I think that was the overriding theme in our film study today, is that as a unit, they work very well together.
Kind of segue in working well together, you and Chuck Martin, how would you evaluate, his game day performance? And I guess is the chain of command or how play calls come in any different from, when Molnar was here last year?
No, very similar. Clearly, Chuck and I communicate very well. We talk during the week, so we've got a pretty good understanding of what we want. I think we've maybe streamlined it a little bit. I think we're effectively communicating maybe some of the areas that we wanted to improve on from last year. We've carried that over. So we're getting great information from the booth, which allows us to to be clear on our selection of plays. And there's just, again, I think the dynamics are really good in that we're on the same page the whole game.
And then lastly, just obviously turnover margin, vastly different story from this time a year ago. Some of that, I guess, goes into the attention to detail that you talked about yesterday, but just the keys to keeping that in a positive direction and having that be a trend in your favor this year opposed to working against you like last season.
Well, I think you get what you demand, and we've demanded it since January. All the times that we've gotten together with the media, we've talked about the emphasis of taking great care of the football. Even on the sack where Everett didn't see him coming, we talked at great lengths about how to protect the football. So I just think you get what you demand, and our kids are really understanding how important it is to take care of the football. And hopefully, the other team turns it over a couple of times. I think last year we finished with 6 fumble recoveries for the entire year. I think we got 3 already. So hopefully we get that working in our favor too.
Thanks.
And again, as a reminder, if you would like to ask a question or if you do have a follow-up question, please press star 1 at this time. And Mr. Kelly, it does appear, we do have a question from Jeff Parrott of Associated Press.
Hi, Coach. Could you just give us a little bit on how you think Golson played?
Well, I think mechanically there were a lot of things that he can get better at. Certainly, decision making. You don't ever want to turn the football over in a short field like we did. But as a first-time starter, I thought he showed poise. the leadership skills necessary on the sideline. He came over. He was easy to communicate. So, all part of the process. This is going to take some time, but again, I think there's a lot to build on after this weekend.
On that interception he threw, would you say he just kind of waited too long to throw it?
Well, there were a lot of things. I mean, his footwork took him out of the ability to throw it quickly. He wasn't. He wasn't in a good position to make that decision to start with. So we hope that he'll learn from that and keep building on it.
And the running game with Sierra coming back this week, how does he fit in with Riddick and Atkinson as far as, I guess, who would get the most reps maybe?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that about Sierra?
Yeah, with him coming back this week, how does
Sierra does not come?
Game?
Yeah, Sierra's out this week too.
Oh, this week too. I'm sorry. Okay.
Are there any other questions out there?
And yes, we'll take our next question from Jillian Mahan of ABC 57 News.
Hi, Coach. I was wondering if you could comment on Manti's performance. Obviously, he had a killer game, and just any of the differences you see from last year, how he's grown as a player.
Well, he played well. He was solo tackles against an option team, fumble recovery, interception. We just felt like he was the leader that he's been, and he continues to exert his own personality on this football team. It's pretty exciting. Not only is he a great player, but he continues to grow as it relates to demands on this team. I mean, he's a lot of people talk about Ray Lewis's demanding about the linebacker core and the defense for the Baltimore Ravens. Manti's taken on that kind of role. I mean, he's demanding and making sure that his players play at a high level. It's fun to watch.
All right, and then going into this week, are you worried at all about fatigue after all the traveling and everything? Are there going to be any adjustments to practice that you foresee for this week?
No, I don't think so. We had everybody check in today. Our trainers and physicians were there today. They feel pretty confident that the plan that we have put in place over, again, this is a lead up for the last 2.5 weeks. I feel like the plan has been effective in making sure that we didn't have guys that were going to be fatigued on the way back. So we'll monitor it during the week. If we got to make an adjustment, we will. But no, I don't see that there's going to be any issues moving forward.
Great. Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
And it does appear there are no further questions at this time.
Great. Thanks, everyone. We'll have a transcript ready later this afternoon on our website.